Readers,
reviewers,
countrymen,
lend us your ears. Welcome to the Brothers Gwynne. Today we're going to be talking about some recent fantasy shows. So we're going to be talking about Rings of Power, House of the Dragon and the Sandman. But before we kick off, I just want to tell everyone, you may not have heard, there is a convention going on next weekend with a group called the Fantasy Fellowship. So I'll put a link in the description below. They will be having authors contributing such as Robin Hobb, Travis Baldry, Shelley Parker-Chan and way more. It's crazy how many people they've got involved. I just wanted to give it a shout out and there we go. So if you're interested in that, do check out the link. But now, Ed, on to
the programmes. Do we like them? Do we dislike them?
Actually, I have something else to say.
Let's not say
another announcement. So we're actually going to be diving into Book Talk as well. We've got a TikTok account called the Brothers Gwynne.
Yeah.
So if you want to go follow that, that'd be awesome. We'll put a link in the description for that as well.
It's a new age.
It is a new age.
The dawn is rising. The age of men is over.
I mean,
the age of the orc has
come. I recorded the first few TikToks and I dropped my phone about 17 times and the book just kept falling over. But I eventually got there. So if you head over on TikTok, you might see our first one out already. But now on to what this video is actually about. So we're going to start with Rings of Power. We've only watched the first 2 episodes so far. But what are our thoughts, Ed?
Rings of Power, I think... so hard to say on camera, isn't it? With people watching.
What I'd say is that I will never be able to stop myself watching Lord of the Rings. There were some good moments. I felt a lot of tension, especially in the second episode, with some of the characters. But I think the dialogue isn't great. I don't like how the elves are very stale when they're politicking.
Yeah. What I would say is that I mean, this is obviously initial thoughts, but it is very, in my opinion, very weak storytelling. It feels very, I think, lazy. It does feel like they've written a first draft and they've just kind of gone with it. I mean, obviously, this is what everyone says. It looks beautiful. It looks so nice. The cinematography is great. Oh, there's still a bit too much of that Hobbit filter kind of going on. It's a little bit of like an Instagram filter kind of thing. But, you know, the orcs are better than they were in The Hobbit. Granted, absolutely. But I just think lots of the actual directing, the cinematography, not the cinematography, the choreography, just the way it's filmed, it feels very kind of juvenile. I don't know. It doesn't feel very accomplished.
Because we watched the Fellowship of the Ring afterwards, and obviously you can't compare it to Fellowship of the Ring. It's one of the best films ever, in my opinion. But I feel like it's made the mistake of Fellowship of the Ring. There'd be conversations, and it starts with a bit of character building, a bit of humour, and it links into the plot. Whereas Rings of Power, it feels like every conversation has to be linked to the plot, and so it feels quite jarring in that it doesn't feel, their dialogue doesn't feel real, in my opinion.
No, and it's not. I don't think it's well written. There are lots of moments where I heard a line of dialogue and you feel like it's been written for a trailer kind of thing. It doesn't feel like it's been written for the world. It's Lord of the Rings, okay? So obviously we are going to watch it, and I'm desperate to love it. This isn't like I want it to fail, and I want it to succeed. Even if I hate it, I want it to succeed because we want more fantasy out there.
Yes, but and there is hope. There is hope. There are some good aspects.
It's a fool's hope. Let's be honest. I mean, and the stranger is obviously Gandalf, isn't he? He must be.
Let's not talk. No, if it's Gandalf, I'll be really upset.
And I think about Rings of Power, the thing for me is that the main characters are a little bit insufferable. I find Galadriel swimming thousands of leagues. It just feels. It's just silly story writing. There was a season of The Last Kingdom, I think season 4, where it went from season 3 was like one of the best seasons I've ever seen, and then season 4, all of the characters were so either passive or irritating or making like choices that I would see in like, I don't know, a Netflix teenage just awful show that would just, I don't know, it's so hard to explain, but I think Rings of Power, there are choices that the characters are making that just make me upset, really sad, and a little bit cringy as well. I think the choreography of the fight scenes have so far been pretty poor as well. I want to love Rings of Power so much, and even the music, the main theme, I don't.
Oh, I do like the music. I have to disagree with you.
No,
there.
I think if you listen,
it's obviously not Lord of the Rings.
Listen, Howard Shore has done the main theme. You're not going to listen to the main theme, Rings of Power, and say, I challenge you to listen to that, and then listen to the Two Towers when they will go into Rohan.
Oh,
the
we can't
no, but
compare.
listen to the Rohirrim theme or
I know.
any of the themes.
Don't push
Sorry,
me,
but
yeah.
no, just listen. Honestly, if you listen to that theme and then listen to Howard Shaw's Rings of Power theme, it's not. There's no direction. It's just bland.
I do think that we
Bear
we
McCreary's
can't.
done an okay job. He's obviously got very. You feel like you're listening to the God of War soundtrack, so it doesn't. I don't think it feels as unique to Lord of the Rings as it does, as it could, as Howard Shaw's score anyway from the Lord of the Rings. You know, I mean, I wouldn't listen to the Hobbit soundtrack. So obviously Howard Shaw struck gold with Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
But I just struggle to see how it's a fantastic theme tune. I'm not humming.
No, I wouldn't say it's fantastic. I think that is one that most theme tunes you don't listen to outside of watching it.
Yeah, but Lord of the Rings is
But,
different.
no,
man.
but I'm saying we can't compare to Lord
Yes,
of the
we
Rings.
can. 'cause
It's
it is
the
Lord of the Rings.
greatest series
Yeah, but
ever.
What else am I going to do? I have to compare
You
to Lord of the Rings.
can't.
Because, of course we do. It's like you can't compare Rocky 2. You can't watch Rocky 2 without comparing it to Rocky 1, can you? You don't.
That. Yeah, I
Exactly.
know, but I'm just
Come
saying
on.
you're setting up for failure if you're.
Well, I have high expectations, and I want Rings of Power to be perfect. If they pour $1 billion into it, it needs to be pretty bloody good, doesn't it? You'd hope so, anyway. Anyway, hopefully Glorfindel's in it. Is he in the Second Age?
Oh, I hope he's not in it. Please
Why?
don't be in it. They're
Will it
going to
mess
ruin
with-
him.
will it mess with your timer?
They will ruin him.
But Galadriel, what do you think of Galadriel? Do you like her?
I think the actress is alright. She had a few moments where
Yeah.
I thought there was really good acting.
Yeah.
I think she's not really been given that room to really do what she
Yeah.
can. But yeah, I agree. Why would she get right on the edge to going no spoilers somewhere where she wants to go?
Who's the bloke
And then
with the spear?
And then
Uh,
no, we're not going to
elf
say.
guy. Who's the bloke with the guy who wears the crowns? What's his name again? Gilgalad.
crowns?
Gilgalad.
Oh right. Okay,
He gave a bad speech. It
wasn't a
made
good
me
speech.
sad. But what I do like, I really love the dwarf portrayal. That and the Half-Foots has been my favourite. I did actually like the music with the Half-Foots. That's really good. But I think the dwarf, seeing Khazad-dûm was awesome,
That
and
was.
I really liked the House of Durin so far, which is really exciting.
Yeah.
And I really like his name. It was Durin, wasn't it? He's Durin. Is
Yeah.
it
Well, he's
Durin?
one of them. Yeah.
He's one of the. I really liked his wife as well. She brought a lot of humour as well.
Yeah.
So that was great. I really loved.
But
that.
it's a lot of character. That's what I mean. That's what Lord of the Rings.
wholesome
fit.
moments.
It's
Will.
what Lord of the Rings had, isn't
Yeah.
it? Where it was wholesome. They had
And you had
humour,
slice of life
but there was a
a little
lot of character development underneath, and
Yeah.
that's what it really had.
Why do we love
Khazad-dûm's
Sam so much? Exactly. Look at him at the beginning. Sam knows an idiot when she sees one. I mean, Rosie knows an idiot when she sees one. He's like, does she? So come on, you just love
Yeah,
it.
it's so good.
Anyway, on to House of the Dragon, shall we?
In this, we've also only watched the first 2 episodes. I mean, I'll say for both of us, we watched the first episode, and we were very disappointed. But we then watched the second one, and we were far more positive, weren't we? We actually enjoyed the second one.
I enjoyed the second one. I think the first one, I have high expectations with every show I watch. You know, I haven't got much spare time, so if I watch something, I want it to be perfect. And I think House of the Dragon felt again a little bit lazy, where it was kind of just. I felt like I could look at the cast of characters and be like, okay, that's this year's Jon Snow. It's a little bit like Love Island, you know, that kind of thing. Just new faces, but they're all saying the same stuff, aren't they? And it
Never
is
watched
weird
it.
watching the House of the Dragon because I know how it's going to end with someone sitting on the throne in about 8 seasons time. But yeah, so it is a funny one, but also at the same time I enjoyed the second episode a lot. I think Matt Smith's character is quite interesting. I think he's been written in a way that is, I think I do question some of the choices the writers made, especially in the first episode with him, and but I feel like the dynamics, and if it's becoming a more confident show. What I love about watching Game of Thrones, even though the first season isn't as polished as I thought it was, it still has these iconic scenes, these iconic characters, and you know these kind of fist pump moments and this humor within there. And House of Dragon has parts of that. It definitely isn't to the level of Game of Thrones, you know, in terms of actually taking stuff from the source material, because the source material obviously is far weaker than Game of Thrones because it's a history book. And you know, this is why the problem with Rings of Power as well. The source material isn't actually structured, you know, and laid out exactly, so people, you know, these writers are having to make up lots, including dialogue. And when you have to make up dialogue, it's so hard to write. You've got to be to the top of your game to write dialogue that is fresh and interesting,
but sharp as
and
well.
progressive, but also sharp and it ticks a lot of boxes, and it's hard to do that. And then obviously have great actors perform well. I think the House of Dragon, the best thing about it is the cast. The cast, obviously, a very strong bunch of actors.
And I do actually feel a lot of tension. That I felt
Yeah.
episode 2 really picked up that political intrigue in a way that I was very engaged in. And so it's not just a hype. I'm pretty confident that I'm really going to go on to enjoy this series.
Yeah, for sure. I think House of Dragon is going to build, and I think Matt Smith's character, Damon. I mean, when you're called Demon, you know, you're going to be a git. But I think he's going to be a big fan favourite, obviously, and I'm looking forward to seeing kind of how the time lapse progresses as well.
Yeah. And now onto the third series. So that is The Sandman. I have watched it all. Ed has watched the first 3 episodes.
Yeah.
So if I can begin with this one, Ed, if that's
Please
all right. I would say that episode 1 I thought was good. The second one I thought was really good. The third one was great. And from then on, it was excellent. Every single episode, in my opinion. Even though it's kind of split in 2 halves, where one of the arcs kind of ends halfway through the series. With a lot of the themes and the some other arcs running over to the second half as well. So it's a bit split down the middle, but I didn't really care as much because even though you introduced quite a lot of new cast in around episode 6, I was just really interested in it. It was so well done. I just love the dialogue, fantastic acting. You can tell that it's a really polished show.
Yeah.
And I was just really engaged, and I got really emotional in quite a few of the later episodes. I mean, it was really impactful. And Neil Gaiman, obviously, the Sandman comics, the graphic novels are written by Neil Gaiman, and this is an adaptation of that. He's got a very philosophical side to him that I think with a lot of people, including me, it really prompts a lot of thought. Yeah, thought, but not prompts. It really brings a lot of thought-provoking ideas to me, and it does bring that philosophical side out.
I think this the Sandman shows when you have great source material, that you can do a great show.
Yeah.
You know? And I think the casting is fantastic, and the direction they're going is brilliant. I think it's filmed so nicely, and yeah, I just think it's a lot more emotive than any of the other shows that I've watched, and it feels very unique. I feel like if I was watching Rings of Power and I didn't know it was about Tolkien, but didn't know it was about Middle Earth, then I really wouldn't have a Scooby. It could look like, look like The Witcher, The Wheel of Time, that kind of thing. It could look like a kind of a bog standard fantasy, perhaps. And the House of Dragon,
Even though it is beautiful, obviously.
yeah, of course. The House of Dragon has that HBO kind of gloss about it, which is wonderful. And then the Sandman, obviously, is being Netflix, but it has got Neil Gaiman's touch, and it feels like it's completely unique and so out there. And I think the acting is absolutely fantastic. There are some really emotional scenes. And obviously it's got great animals in, which we love.
Exactly. Oh, and it's so dark, isn't it? I love. There's a lot of things that if people think, main character, we need to make them do this and forgive their enemy or something like that, to make you like them. But they do not do that. They go with what it feels like. They're just following what the character would naturally do. Obviously, they are writing a story, but it just feels so natural in that way, doesn't it? And Morpheus, I love his arc. I mean, some of his moments, some of his lines are absolutely brilliant. So good. And it was so successful on Netflix that they've actually released an extra episode, so that's awesome as well.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, but no, I'm really looking forward to continuing the Sandman. So I'd say the Sandman so far is my favourite. I'd probably give it about an 8 out of 10 so far. I think number 2 would be House of Dragon, probably 6 out of 10, and then Rings of Power for me, it's got to be a 2. I'm not into it.
So I'd be a bit nicer. I'd say so. Well, I've watched all of Sandman, so I'd actually give it 10 out of 10.
Yeah.
Even though the beginning I wasn't absolutely in love, but I still really enjoyed it, and
I'm not in love, but I'm enjoying.
I think you
enough
will.
To really, to actually, I would watch it on my own. If,
Yeah, and then House of Dragon, I'd probably give 7 because I'd say episode 1 is a 5, episode 2 is an 8, so 6, 7 kind of place.
6.5.
So we'll run it up to 7. And I'd say Rings of Power. I just love Lord of the Rings, and there's some scenes that made me laugh. There were some scenes I really enjoyed. So 5. So there we go. That is our fantasy shows. Hopefully you enjoyed this chat. What are your feelings? We understand, obviously, everyone's going to have really different views about this, especially as I've not read the source material for House of the Dragon, but I've read basically everything to do with Lord of the Rings and Rings of Power.
We all come at it from different parts, don't we?
Yeah, exactly.
And obviously, everyone's so passionate. I mean, particularly about loving Rings of Power.
Yeah, so I'd love to have a conversation with people in the comments about what their opinions are. And again, remember, we started a Book Talk account, so if you want to go follow that, then link in the description, and with Fantasy Fellowship Convention as well.
Very nice. Well, truth and courage, everyone. Hopefully you enjoy the programmes. Let us know in the comments below what's your favourite so far. We look forward to catching up with them and watching even more. But truth and courage from the Brothers Gwynne.
The Brothers Gwynne.